Okay, I believe we are live and recording now. Um, Welcome. Today's day number 4 in a row. Hopefully, you guys aren't exhausted yet, and you're still showing up and eager to learn and just understand how some of these things that we talk about can apply to your life, right? A lot of things, and we were just talking about this before we started the recording, but a lot of things we talk about are going to open loops, and the human nature is we don't like uncertainty. We don't like the unknown. So we tend to rush to close the gaps. Leave the loops open. Let it percolate. Think about it. Think about how it applies to your life. Some of these underpinnings and principles. Super important. Okay. All right. So today shouldn't be very long. Should be pretty concise and just talking about macro beliefs, high level strategy, how the solvable equation plugs into this. It was a couple long videos in the past couple days, so today should be a little bit shorter and to the point, and kind of come full circle on some of these things that we've been talking about. Okay, so let's talk about macro beliefs. Okay, there's a process here defining the tangibles, which is defining, point A and point B, what it is that you want, finding the most efficient path forward, and then determining your macro and as a store of value to get where you actually want to go. Okay, so once you've locked in your solvable equation and you've defined the tangibles, it's time to kind of start to back into the appropriate strategy to get you there. In your opinion, what you see, this is your belief. Okay, anything I say today, if I'm giving my opinion on something, those are my opinions. It does not mean that yours are the same. Everybody's just going to be different. Everybody's starting in a different place. Super important to preface that and understand that if I'm doing something doesn't mean that you should do something just because I'm doing it, because we are likely wanting different things. Okay, understand that. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, what is the most reliable way to close this gap? Okay, now you've defined the gap. Okay, define the tangibles. You've defined what the gap is, right? So what is the most reliable way to close this gap? What is, in my opinion, the most efficient path forward to achieving that? Okay, so essentially you're asking yourself, what do I want to accumulate more of at the end of the day as a store of value? Okay, so your macro belief could be that you want more US dollars, and most of yours probably is going to be US dollars, assuming you're in the US. Okay, some of you guys, maybe your macro belief is gold. Maybe it's Bitcoin. Maybe it's Ethereum. Could be Guardian. Could be Wolfies. Could be Forge one day. Okay, there's a lot of time and things have to go by in order for Forge to be a macro belief, in my opinion, and anybody's. It has to prove itself. Okay, so it wouldn't really be super appropriate to make Forge a macro belief, but you could at this point in time. Okay, so the majority of you guys, your macro belief is likely going to be US dollars, or maybe it's Bitcoin, something like that. Okay, so my macro belief up until about 2 months ago was Bitcoin. So everything that I was doing within crypto, I was focused on accumulating more Bitcoin. Okay, I didn't look at the dollar value of my portfolio. I was trying to get more Bitcoin because I wanted to use Bitcoin as a store of value because I believed that it would help me to close the gap over time. My macro belief was that I believe that Bitcoin, I still do. Okay, I think Guard is a better macro than Bitcoin at this point, but I believe that Bitcoin will trade at least 2 or 3x where it's at right now at some point in time. Okay, so if I know that within the next 10 years, if that's your solvable equation, if my belief is that Bitcoin is going to do a 2 or 3x and stay somewhere around there, okay, my solvable equation to get the amount of Bitcoin that I want is going to be lower than a dollar value. Does that make sense? Because Bitcoin's going to help me close the gap. US dollars is likely going to go the other way. Okay. It might broaden the gap because of, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but because of inflation and what's going on with the dollar, and just it's a shit show out there. US dollar is the biggest shitcoin of them all. Okay. But finding the most efficient path forward. Okay. Does my macro belief help me to maintain or close the gap? Okay. So an example is kind of what I was just saying is with the inflation of the US dollar and the depreciating buying power of the dollar, do I think that having this many dollars is going to be enough to actually fuel my cost of living, to fuel the things that I need? Okay. Probably not, in my opinion. Probably going to need a lot more dollars, depending where the dollar is headed right now. Like I'm looking at, Bitcoin or Guardian against the dollar. What do I believe is going to do better? What's going to help me close the gap? And then once you understand that, and once you've defined a point A and a point B, it helps you to inform behavior based off of your risk tolerance. Okay, so when you've quantified the gap and you say, I need this much, you can also tell how much risk you need to take, or if you need to throttle back and remove risk to increase certainty. It's like we talked about the first day. Okay, so once you've quantified the gap, it allows you the ease of being able to make informed decisions. Okay, so the two things that you tell yourself is you either need to take on more risk in order to collapse time to get what you want. So you either need to go into a riskier asset, or you need to go gamble in shitcoins, or you need to do something to help you collapse time, because with where you're at right now with your current amount of capital and assets and all of that, you need a higher percentage than, let's say, Forge could provide you, or Bitcoin could provide you, or whatever. Okay, so once you've quantified the gap, you can kind of decide, okay, this is going to help me get here in the most efficient manner, right? You can also discern if you can mitigate risk, okay, because once you've defined the gap, you can also define whatever the overage is. So if you're saying, I only need to get 70, or like, let's say I only need to get like 20% per month or something like that, okay? If you're getting 70% a month, you can now understand that you can take that 50% of overage, put it somewhere else that's in a less risky asset like Anchor Protocol or staking stables or something, because you know that you're on track. So removing risk and moving the overage into something safer increases certainty and power over the outcome. Does that make sense? So there's no way to be able to define that if you haven't done the work and you haven't defined the variables, and you cannot close the gap and solve the problem of more. More is an unsolvable problem. Okay, more is a human condition of greed, right? People who want more, more, more. Okay, the people who are at a 10x and praying that the chart keeps going up, or praying for more, because they have no clue where they are, what they need to actually get what they want. There's no clarity. Okay, so they just run around acting like degens all day. We've all been there. Okay, this is what I used to do. I get it. But once you've defined this stuff, it makes it very easy to make decisions in an informed way, and it removes anxiety. Okay, Dr. Jeff Spencer says this all the time. Okay, there's one word in a champion's vocabulary amongst all champions, and it's restraint. Okay, knowing when not to do something, knowing when to back off, knowing when to slow down. Restraint. Champions understand the concept of restraint. This is a facilitation of the concept of sorry, I forgot to scroll down a little bit. I'm talking about the unsolvable problem more, right? If you're on track and you're still pushing for more, you're kind of acting like an asshole. Because you're only taking on more risk that could cause you to not even get to what you want at the end of the day. Is it worth it? Maybe. I don't know. You have to define that for yourself. But so, do I need to take more or less risk? Okay. Here, we'll do an example. So let's say you've defined the gap. Okay. Let's say you've defined that you want, these are arbitrary numbers. You've defined that you want $10 million in 10 years. Okay. And let's say the math comes out to you needing $146,000 a year to close the gap. Okay, so we break that down, we divide 146,000 by 365. You'll see that you need about $400 a day. Okay, so it's about one BNB right now, so we'll just call it a BNB. So if you know that you need one BNB a day to get everything that you want to put into the front end of the farm, or just to convert into your macro belief, right? You get one BNB a day and you buy Bitcoin with it, or you buy Guardian, or you buy Forge, or you buy, whatever your macro belief is, turn it into dollars. I don't know. Okay, you could put it into Anchor Protocol, get 20%, whatever it is. You'll be able to discern which pathway you need to go, because you'll know how much risk tolerance you have. Okay. So how can I accomplish one BNB a day? That's now the question. That's now the problem to solve for, right? So you're just getting granular on this stuff. So how do I accumulate one BNB a day? Well, you could take on more risk, and you can trade or gamble in launches or shitcoins or whatever, right? So you could go into a new launch, and you could let's say you put 2 BNB in, okay? 2 BNB in, and it 3x's, okay? So you're now sitting at somewhere around like 6 BNB, okay? You could pull 3 BNB out, and now you are at 1 BNB more than you had before. Okay, you've made your BNB for the day. You've locked in what you need to get what you want. So now this overage that's sitting in there, your moon bag, so you've got another 3 BNB still in there, you can let that shit ride. No anxiety. At this point, you've locked in everything that you need for the day. Anything on top of that is a bonus. So now you can let the rest of that ride. It could go 4x, and you could collapse time even further, or it can go to 0. And guess what? You're already getting everything you want, because you've achieved what you were looking to do that day. So it becomes a lot easier to hold something for a huge moonshot. Okay, a lot of people sold right here. Okay, they're sad. A lot of people sold right here. They're real sad. All these people, real sad. Okay, it's a lot easier to hold to here when you don't have anxiety. This is why the chart is not red. There is not erratic humans doing stupid things, because people know what they want and they are on track. They are collapsing time like crazy. Okay, this is why all of this is why human behavior is the biggest lever in a project. Because if your investor base understands what they want, they understand that your project is a tool to help them get their macro belief, or could become your macro belief. Like Guardian is actually my macro belief now. I convert any overage or anything into Guardian because I believe it is a better store of value than Bitcoin is. And I think it has a lot more upside. A lot more upside. I would not be surprised to see Guardian at $5 by the end of the year. So like, and that's just my opinion, okay? Don't go do stupid things just because I say things. That's only 165%. That sounds kind of off. Whatever. Doesn't change the facts. Okay? When people know what they want and they understand that what tools to use to get them there, there's no anxiety. People aren't freaking out. People stop watching the chart because the price doesn't matter anymore. Okay, so that's trading and gambling. If you're looking at the staking and farming side of things, which is kind of what we're suggesting, right? Because it's more predictable. You can trade, but most traders lose. So a lot of traders are really good, but you got to know your game and you got to play your game. If you're a great trader and you can make 1 BNB a day pretty easily doing that, then go do that and build a farm out of it. Put all your overage into the farm and let it grow, and then keep. So if I pulled 3 BNB out, I would take 1 BNB and I would flip it into my macro because that's all I need, 1 BNB a day, and then I could flip the other 2 into a farm and let it grow. Okay, if you're staking and farming, now the question becomes, how big of a farm do I need? How big of a farm do I need? What asset or what price / APY of a certain asset do I need to be on track? Let's see, average. What average APY of a certain asset do I need to be on track? Perfectionist in me, pissing me off. Okay, so what asset do I believe in, or do I want to set up a base case with to create a farm that I believe will close the gap to getting me 1 BNB a day? Okay, so I actually have a spreadsheet, and I have to manually update these, so this isn't going to be completely accurate, but so 1 BNB a day is what? Let's call the price a night $1, just because I think it's going to trade at $1 within the next couple months, once CoinMarketCap gets their shit together. Okay, so how much do I need? How many night tokens do I need to make $400 a day? Okay, so all right. Well, if I start with 20 grand, making about $200 a day. It's about half that. Okay, so 40 grand. I'm making about $410 a day, and that's assuming that the price is $1 and that it stays there. All of this is just taking a snapshot in time of a very dynamic system where the math is always changing. So don't take this as a absolute return. That would be inappropriate, right? We can't take a snapshot of time in a dynamic system and assume it's going to stay like that. But at a $40,000 farm in night BNB, I would have $400 a day, assuming the value of the asset stays the same. Okay, if you needed, there we go. So in Guardian, the question would be, what do I think Guardian's going to do over a period of time? If I think it's going to go to $5, that's about a 2.5x from here, something like that. So I would just need to create a farm that got me half of that, because I believe that, or whatever the math is, because I believe that the value of Guardian will appreciate, a 2 or 3x from here over time. Does that make sense to everybody? So how big of a farm do I need? What APY of a certain asset do I need? And what asset do I believe is going to be an appropriate thing to set up a base case with? If you only need, an average of 70% a year, then Guardian would be a great base case. If you need more than that, then maybe Knight, because it has a higher APY, but it has a lower amount of potential. Well, in my opinion, there's a lower amount of potential appreciation, token appreciation, growth, because it does not have a limited supply. They are minting new tokens every day, right? So DEX tokens and Forge and Guardian, they're different. They act differently. People think all these tokens are the same. They come in, they clearly don't understand what the value of the token is, because they're treating it like everything else. Okay, there's going to be a lot of people. There's already people in my DMs all the time like, this doesn't make any sense. You're wrong. This and that, because they don't get it. They don't understand the ecosystem. They don't understand how different things work, how different tokens work. Okay. So, at the end of the day, the key is slowing down, locking in what we want by either taking on more risk to collapse time or mitigating risk or hedging risk by moving things into safer assets. After that, once you've got your base case set up and you're locked in to get everything you want, you can act like a total degen with the overage you have if you want. You can use that overage to collapse time. You could put it into the farms. You could do whatever, or you could go gamble. You could go feed your gambling. If you know you have a gambling addiction, okay? I like to press buttons. I like to gamble a little bit. I enjoy it. It's fun. Okay? But base case and chilling is boring. But if it gets me everything I want. So I'm totally fine with doing that. But I know myself, and if I don't have some buttons to click or some things to do, I'm gonna be itching to go move shit around and be a dingleberry. Okay, so once you've locked in what it is you want, you can act however you want. Okay, the frame shift is, and we talked about this before, is biasing closer over more. Okay, closer over more. What gets me closer to what I really want? Okay, so you could build a big, beautiful, awesome bridge to close the gap. Say, look at this amazing bridge I've built. It's so awesome. But that bridge is built in the opposite direction of where you wanted to go. It didn't solve your problem. It didn't get you closer to what you want. It's the same thing with money. Oh, I got all this money. It's amazing. Okay, but you lost your family and because you didn't take care of your relationships, or your health went to shit and you don't get to enjoy, what's really important, because you didn't get closer to what you want. You didn't define what you want first because you were afraid of defining failure, because that's what happens when you define success. And because you didn't define the tangibles, you didn't actually get closer to what you want. And this is why a lot of people lose in the space. This is why they lose after they win. Is because they win and then they're like, awesome, like I just made 50 grand. And then they go ape that entire 50 grand into a new token hoping to do the same thing, and they lose it all. Okay, because they're not locking in what they want, or they're not locking in what they need because they don't know what they want. They haven't defined it, right? So what was the point? What's the point of doing all this? What's the point of gambling and trying to make $10 million in 10 years? Okay. So to summarize, your macro belief is what you believe in long term as a store of value that will help you close the gap from where you are right now to where you want to be. Okay. And then my opinion, for what it's worth, I don't believe that dollars are the best store of value to close that gap effectively, given, the rising inflation rates and depreciation of buying power from the dollar and everything that's going on, and the way that centralized systems are starting to shift to decentralized systems. I don't think that dollars are the best store of value, which is why my macro belief is Guardian. I don't need dollars. I have enough dollars to do the things I want. So I'm playing a game where I have my macro belief in crypto because I do not need dollars. Most of you probably need dollars. I don't know. That's for you to decide. But if you're looking at your portfolio and you're looking at the dollar value every day, your macro belief is dollars, whether you like it or not. If you calculate your gains in dollar values instead of assets, okay, we talked about this yesterday. We talked about this yesterday. Assets over dollars, right? If you're thinking of everything in dollars, this is why you're addicted to staring at the price on charts. Okay. Your macro belief is likely dollars. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Most people are going to be like, I need dollars to do these things in my life that I want to do. I have enough to do the things that I want to do for quite some time. So I don't need the dollars, so I'm playing more of an infinite game. That might not be the appropriate strategy for you. So you have to discern for yourself. These are open loops, like we talked about earlier. You have to understand how this applies to your life. Define the tangibles. Create a solvable problem. Back into the appropriate strategy. Okay, your macro belief could be forged one day if we prove our value as a store value, and people coming in understand how to use our ecosystem and our product. It's very possible that one day Forge could be a macro belief, but it is much too early to discern that. So I do not, if you say that Forge is your macro belief and we haven't even launched yet, you have completely missed the point. I appreciate it. I appreciate that you guys are bullish, if that's the case, but you've completely missed the lesson here. Okay, so understand that. We're just keeping time and randomness on our side. Okay, we do not have a crystal ball. We have no way of knowing what's going to happen in 3 months or next week or in a year. So just with the information and data available to us, what is the best decision we can make that will get us closer to what we want? That makes sense to everybody? A little confusing?
No, it's not confusing at all to me. If anybody has any questions, though, feel free.
Yeah. If you have questions, let them rip.
Because a lot of this stuff is not, simple.
Yeah, these are complex principles, but once you start, allowing it to percolate a little bit and understand, okay, the answers will start to come to you when you start to think about things in this way. I don't want people leaving this call and being like, okay, my macro belief is this. My macro belief is Bitcoin is. That's what Daniel said. Don't do that. Don't go to Google and start Googling shit. Think about it. Sleep on it. How does it apply to me? What do I want? Okay. That's why everybody should be working on having a solvable equation ready by launch, so you guys understand how to act. So we can reduce anxiety. We can reduce people acting like other BSC moon boys in the chat. Can be calm, base case, and chill, right? If nobody else has any other questions, I'm going to stop the recording. Okay, let's stop the recording. 28 minutes, perfect, right on the dot.